changing. Like, it is possible for me to change, but it took time, you know. It took like I would say at least 18. No, it was like, honestly, it was like 2.5 years before that, like, started to become something that I had to try less hard at and was more just like becoming part of who I was.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I'll personally, like, it's never perfect. Like, there are still times that I experience some of those things bubbling to the surface. Um, and I say it all the time, but we're always a work in progress, right? Like, we are not the destination. I don't think we ever will be either. Um, and that struggle, that like fight to keep yourself just like one step ahead, is part of the human experience, right? Like to be a human being is traumatic. It just is, and it's kind of dealing with those daily traumas that show up surface on a daily basis, and getting through them. Like that's how you win. Uh, my book. Okay, let's talk about the dry January experience, what that is in terms of Tempest, and any tips that you would have for people who are starting to rethink their relationship with alcohol in January.
Sure. So, starting today over at Tempest, we are doing a dry January experience. Many of y'all listening might already be familiar with dry January as like a concept, right? We take a month off, we take the first month off drinking to start the year. So, our experience is like right, you would take that on or start to experiment with that, but what we're doing is we're going to have a new prompt and or activity every week to kind of motivate you, have you be connected in with our community. We'll have live workshops, video lessons, like we have tons of group support calls every day. So we've kind of taken what we already do and curated it even more specifically to this dry January experience. And then, you know, as far as tips, right? I think the biggest thing that I want to convey is like I said earlier, you don't have to come into this knowing, okay, I'm going to be sober forever. You can absolutely be sober curious, right? Another thing about Tempest is that we don't require you to take on a certain label or claim that, you know, certain anything in order to be like so welcome. So you can come and you can absolutely be sober curious. But what I'll say is like, if you are curious, right, take this on as, you know, as an experiment, right? I'm saying all these things, I'm sharing all of my experiences, but you don't have to believe me, you know? You get to try and experiment for yourself and discover what is true for yourself. I can share my experience, I can offer you tips and tools and practical things, but like, it's really up to you, you know? One of the, you as I said earlier, you just have to show up and practice. You don't have to do what anyone else has done. You don't have to do it the way anyone else has. And one of my like metaphors that I use is like, and forgive me because I'm not a scientist, but I often talk about like, you know, approaching a practice of sobriety or recovery or being out, and you fail again and again and again, and then you start to hit upon what's working, and then you can go into the lab and you can recreate those steps and you can depend, okay, if I kind of hit these things, I'm going to get a certain outcome. And like, really, that's to me what this practice is. It's like, you know, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to get it right, right? I can be human. I just got to keep showing up, keep experimenting, and then I get some traction and I'm feeling stable, and then we can start to build from there. So I would say come with your curiosity, come with your willingness. Know that if you're struggling right now, if you're having a hard time, like, that's okay. We're going to welcome you exactly as you are. And even if it's hard for you in this moment to see a different possibility for yourself, like just beginning to consider like, okay, maybe I can't see it right now, but maybe like if I can do it, if if you can do it, like it's possible. It really is.
Yeah. Um, it it doesn't always get better, right? We have the power to become
Mhm.
better. We all have that power, no matter where you are. Um, Access to that power, that internalized power, is available. You just got to put in some work, and that work never stops. There are a few ways that anyone who's listening or anyone who is interested at all can get involved with the Tempest community. Uh, there's a code currently, a Nico code. You can use the code Nico5. That's NICO 5, and you'll get $5 off your first month's membership. You can do that for the January experience or any month after that. The code may change after that, so that's just specifically for January. Nico 5. Um, Danny, can you talk some about the new app that just dropped for folks that are potentially not ready to make the full jump into the Tempest experience, but who are sober curious and kind of want to get their feet wet, so to speak?
Totally. Yeah. If you just search for the Rethink app, Rethink by Tempest, it's a free app, and we offer a ton of resources and articles, and there's a community growing there as well. And that's free, and you can download that and start to kind of get a sense of the Tempest method, way, philosophy, get a sense of our approach, and start to connect with other people who are also sober curious.
Yeah, love that. And then also, if you want to help someone in need, if potentially you have a friend or a family member that you think could benefit from the Tempest program, we have a Tempest scholarship program that helps support individuals selected by our nonprofit partners from the LGBTQIA plus and the BIPOC communities who are most likely to benefit from having access to a Tempest membership. Um, I will post some links in my stories to access different parts of different Tempest programs. Um, but Danny, it's been really awesome getting to know you on here, and thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Nico. I appreciate it.
Hmm. Anything else you want to leave the people with here today to kind of start
Okay.
2020?
If you do decide to come and join us, I want you to know that we have an orientation every Monday that I lead. So you can come Monday night and I'll be there, and we'll kind of get more into like the nuts and bolts of the membership, how Tempest works, like what do we mean when we say that it's effective, like how it actually works. So I would really love to see you. And then, yeah, I think the only other thing that I'll say is like, uh, yeah, you don't have to have all the answers. It can be messy, right? And yeah, I hope to see some of you, and Nico, I just really appreciate you. So thank you for having me in this conversation.
Absolutely. We should do this again. Before we sign off, does anyone have any specific questions? Now is the time to ask a question. Um, yeah, I'll give you a few minutes to kind of think of something. But Happy New Year, y'all. We did it. That was the fastest year, I think, in the history of all the years that have ever existed. I don't understand. What time Monday?
6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I will save this story. I will. I think it'll be both on my page and Tempest page.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Grounding roots in AA step ideology.
So if we have plenty of folks as part of our membership who work the steps and who are part of AA. And we're never going to detract from that or say anything negative about AA. It works for so many people, right? And Tempest is different, right? We do have a different sort of philosophy and nexus around which we spin, right?
The app itself is called Rethink, y'all. We'll post it on my stories as well. There was an interesting question. Does it feel like you're wearing a mask when you first become sober? Interesting question. I actually feel like that for the first time you get to take your mask off, right? Which is a weird thing. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I'd been wearing masks for so long. I described myself, I was a shapeshifter.
right.
And when I quit drinking, it was the first time I was like, well, who am I really? Who do I want to be? And how do I figure that out?
And if you like wearing masks, right? Like you find masks to put on, right? It's not like you lose all access to masks once you stop. Believe me, I still got plenty of masks. Um, all right. Anything else here that helps you feel more included in social settings? That's a good question that I was thinking about asking you. How do you feel just like being in, I'm sure you get this question all the time, but like being in a party environment where people are drinking, how do you kind of deal with that? And what are some takeaways potentially, some little tips?
Oh my
Take home
gosh,
with
we could
them
have a whole other IG live about that.
fully.
Okay, so I'm just gonna be real with y'all. It's hard at first. You got to figure it out, right? There is like an adjustment period where, I remember first going out in social situations and being like, does my face look normal? Am I standing like a normal person? Like I was just so hyper aware. So, something that I would tell myself over and over was like, awkward never killed anyone. Awkward never killed anyone. Like that was sort of my like thing that I would repeat to myself because I felt like a fish out of water at first, and so just know that that's normal. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong. That's part of it. Know that you're going to find more ease in being social. And then as far as tips, I would say go in with a plan, right? Don't just say, oh, we're going to see what happens. I hope I don't drink, right? Like go in with an idea of how you want the night to go. Bring stuff you want to drink. I can't tell you how many parties I went to where I'd show up and I'm like drinking tap water out of a red Solo cup. Like, oh, terrible, So go in with a plan, make sure you have stuff that you like to drink, and then have an exit strategy. That time of the night where it kind of tips and you're like, all right, everyone's maybe a little more sauced than they aren't. Like I come home, I take a bath, I like go to sleep, so have an exit strategy. I recommend like you can always French exit, you can bounce, like you don't have to stay.
Yeah, and you're one of the only few people that like will actually remember you leaving. So
Exactly.
like, that's something that I learned very quickly in not drinking at parties is that like you think people care about you a lot more than they actually. If people are drinking around you, they're thinking about themselves and potentially who they're having sex with that night. It's pretty limited to that.
So true.
There are so many companies and folks that are making incredible alternatives to alcohol right now. Definitely bring something with you to a party that you want to be sipping on. So many things that make you feel good and just like I can't stress enough. There are so many companies that are doing cool things right now. Danny, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for joining us today. And let's do this soon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks for the great questions. Sending you all my good everything.
You too.
Be well, Nico.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.
How do I get you off of here though?
I'll leave. I'll see you later.
Grab anymore. There you go. Bye. Okay, cool. Hey, y'all, that was really awesome. Thank you. Look at that heart nose. It's back. Not that it ever went anywhere, but Happy New Year. I love you all. Thanks for having me on here. It's been a minute since I've done one of these, but I spent a lot of time last year figuring out who I wanted to be in this world on a public level. I spent a lot of years having large conversations, and I needed to take a step back to figure out exactly what I wanted to talk about moving forward. And sobriety is one of those things that I will continue to talk about forever, no matter what, because I know how important it is for myself and for the people that I really care about, and for you. If it's something that you're interested in, Tempest is a great resource to kind of start that dialogue, that internal dialogue, both on a personal level and in a community. You're not alone. There are plenty of fucking people out there that are thinking about changing their relationship with alcohol. Um, and uh, yeah, I love you. Happy New Year. Um, Stay safe out there. Uh, Take care of yourself to the degree that you want to. Taking care of yourself like wholeheartedly 365 days a year is unrealistic. There are some times that you're not going to be taking care of yourself, and you know what? That's okay. Uh, I've been learning to surrender to those days more so than I have in the past. Um, and those days allow us to actually take care of ourselves on other days when they're the most necessary. I love you. Fuck it up, y'all. Happy New Year.